So a warm welcome everybody for our class today. As usual, I have a couple of blocks sitting by the side of my mat. Please consider grabbing one, maybe two as well, depending on what you've got at home. They're always quite nice as a lot of seated postures get more comfortable and other support might be required. So today we'll start in a seated position, cutting that intro a bit short. I will grab my blocks. You please feel free to sit in an easy pose instead of sitting back like I do with the knees in a deeper flexion. So perhaps legs out in front is nice for you. Maybe one leg in front of the other. Perhaps none of this works and you would rather like to extend your legs. All of that is perfectly fine. So let's nestle ourselves into a seated support and allowing ourselves to just gently drop toward the tailbone a little bit. Noticing how the lower back begins to slightly round when we do. As you breathe in, let the belly expand and at the same time get a feeling of being pulled up through the spine, lengthening right to the crown of the head and perhaps letting the shoulders gently settle into a spot. You might enjoy closing your eyes. If that's not yours, please steady your gaze down somewhere in front of you. And perhaps taking this time to just arrive in the seat that you have created for yourself just then. Perhaps also in a breath that moves in and out of the abdomen. While it is not our topic, I've taken a card today and two came out. It's from the Chakra Wisdom Oracle. And I'd love to share brief sentences about both because they could be quite relevant to your practice on the mat today. The first one that I found is called confusion. And what I take from it is, through the willingness to be in confusion, we find clarity. There is nothing to solve. There's a card that came out of the deck with this one, and it's called isolation. It does link in very well, though. Isolation and solitude. Do you know the difference? Do not wait for the right time to live your life. You're not on the verge of something big, but if you don't participate, it could pass you by. So perhaps taking these two concepts into your practice today, if you wish. As you might now take a deep breath in, reach your arms out and up, then turn the palms to face you, cross your wrists and hook up your thumbs and draw all of this down in front of your chest so that your shoulders can relax. There's a little bit of tension now between your thumbs and your fingers are spreading out. The shoulders are quite easy. This is Garuda Mudra, so Eagle Mudra. I'd love you for a moment to just sit with it, keeping your deep breaths flowing, perhaps into the abdomen, perhaps filling your whole lungs here. As you breathe and hold your mudra, this mudra is associated with the element of air. With that, it is associated to our values. The values that we hold within our body are winds, energies that flow, that we can enhance with our physical practice. So hence, here's the moment to do so. For an overall better experience of wellness and health. as you breathe in and out. On your next breath in, lifting your arms up as they are. As you breathe out, just turning to one side and perhaps using your hands and arms to either wrap or support your twist. Take a breath in as you rise, lifting arms out and up. Perhaps turning the palms again, hooking your thumbs up in that awkward way and pulling back down in front of your heart center. A breath in and out here. And when you inhale again, reaching the arms back up. And on your out breath, turning into a twist to your other side. Again, maybe using your hands and arms as a support. Let's take a breath in, reaching your arms back out and up. And as you exhale this time, just letting your hands land onto the earth, perhaps lifting your hips away from your sitting support. I will place my blocks out, so for a bit later to support any other postures and movements. So when you arrive onto your hands and knees, you might look back down at the knees, placing them underneath the hips. When it comes to your hands, spread out your fingers there, allowing the weight to sit a bit forward and away from the wrists. And if your wrists are feeling a bit achy or your hands, you can step up onto fists there, pointing your thumbs forward. Allowing in all cases a little bit of softness in your arms, but a lift between the shoulder blades and a more firm grounding through the tops of the feet and your shins. As you take your next inhale, soften your elbows, lift your tail and gaze. With the exhalation, strong arms and rounding the spine. Let's do that again. A breath in as you're lifting your tail and gaze. A breath out to round the back. Keep that flowing for a few more breaths, just doing that. If you find yourself stuck within that linear movement, perhaps moving your pelvis a little bit out of alignment, finding movement that is nourishing, feeling good for you. Taking one more round like this. And after you've rounded your spine, sitting briefly down in the direction of your heels. Perhaps keeping your arms long at the front. Maybe if you enjoy the mudra, you could hook your thumbs up here, facing the palms to the mat, or even the other way around. See what works for you, as you might rest in your child's pose with a gentle pull on your thumbs, spread off the fingers. As you breathe in, let the hook dissolve. Circle your arms behind, perhaps a hook here. If you choose to hook your thumbs there, squeeze the shoulder blades a little. Perhaps even raise your arms slightly away from your back. What's that experience feeling like? Releasing the hook of the thumbs here as you breathe in, extending your arms back to the front and lifting your hips back up and away from the heels. Making sure that the knees land again underneath the hips, that you set your hands up and they're firm into the ground without dumping weight to the wrists, rather spreading into the hands, grounding through the feet. As you next inhale, let's lift the right leg behind us, extending through the leg, You might start with a flexion of the foot to control the positioning of your pelvis as you breathe in. On the out breath, perhaps bringing your nose to the knee and the spine is rounding. On the inhale, extending the leg back, reaching forward into the crown. And on the out breath, bringing the knee back in towards the chest. Repeating that for a few more breaths. When you come to your next one, extending again. And as you breathe out, perhaps helping or stepping the foot forward in between your hands. Love you to take time to do so that the knee is aligned over the ankle, the hip is over the back knee. As you breathe in, relax your upper body. Breathe out, use your front foot, push into the mat. As you come up to stand in your kneeling lunge, take a breath in and open your arms. Get a little squeeze down the back with the shoulder blades. As you're breathing out, bringing the hands to touch. As you breathe in, open, squeeze the shoulder blades down. As you breathe out, bring together to touch. Let's repeat that movement a few times. It's there to open your chest as you squeeze your shoulder blades down the back and together. Breathing in. And out. Go one more round. Taking a breath. As you tilt the shape, reaching down with the right hand and stretching the left arm over the head. Let that arm just circle down. You can use your thigh to lean against, placing your hands back down, framing the front foot, stepping the knee back and returning into a solid all fours stance. With your next breath in, then lifting the left leg up. And you might start again with the flexion of the foot, keeping your pelvis in balance. On the out breath, perhaps nose to knee and rounded spine. On the inhale, extending out through the heel and forward into the crown. A breath out as you draw in. Let's keep that flowing for a few more breaths. Just extending the spine, the leg, and then rounding and curling in. Next one, we will still extend the leg out. And with the exhale, still bringing the knee in, perhaps helping or landing the foot forward between the hands. Taking time again, the knee aligning over the ankle, the hip over the knee. The knee joint behind. And then take a breath to just relax your upper body. Let it melt over your front thigh. And an out breath to uncurl that. Opening cactus arms and squeezing the shoulder blades down the back. And touching your palms together, perhaps even the forearms. As you open and squeeze down the back to softness and touch at the front. Stay with the movement, a steady gazing point and your breath as you repeat. Last round. Lowering the left arm, extending the right, and a side bend with the right arm perhaps over the head. Rolling arm and shoulder in as you land once more. onto your hands and knees. Sitting back in a rounded spine towards your heels. As you return into child's pose, the option of hooking your thumbs back up there at the front, perhaps that little pull on the thumbs so the fingers are nicely spreading. The arms might be extended, your bottom, however, reaches towards the heels. A deep breath in, and as you breathe out, starting to circle the arms behind, and perhaps you find that awkward hooking of the thumbs here too. You might just draw your arms long or even lift them away from the back. The head can be supported, floating, or resting to the floor. Let's release the hook of the thumbs, and if available, drop the arms by the sides for a couple of breaths in full child's pose. Extending then the arms back towards the front of the mat. A breath in to come up onto the hands and the knees. And then perhaps coming either to step forward or walk forward, landing with both feet parallel at the short front edge of the mat, allowing your body to fold forward. So not much change from the child's pose, only that we're now standing on our feet. As you breathe in, please use your fingertips against a block or your shins, aiming to straighten your spine forward into a half lift. Let the shoulders gently shrug back in this posture. The knees can be lightly bent, the legs could be straight. Take a breath in. And as you breathe out, let the hands slide back down, surrendering again into Uttanasana, forward fold. With an out breath, then beginning to uncurl the spine ever so slowly into a standing position. Give your shoulders a gentle shrug as you come to stand, letting your arms open, palms perhaps facing forward. I will come a little bit closer to you just because I can. And so we're facing in roughly the same direction. Let's find the ground underneath the feet first. So have little wiggles over your feet, perhaps lifting your toes and even the heels, and just finding your place on the mat. With these quite loose pants, you might not see, but my knees are quite soft here. I'd ask you to do the same. Just soften lightly into your knees, not a bend, just a gentleness. Let your pelvis then take a little float, and you might lightly move your pelvis. So we're doing currently the opposite to what we're aiming for, finding the looseness in our stance. Then take that lovely breath to give the shoulders a shrug that we oftentimes do, so the hands turn forward with a little bit more ease. Shifting your weight from this relaxed standing pose towards the left foot. And a breath in as you might peel the right heel or even lift your knee off the mat. Taking your hands then to touch at heart center and extending the right leg back. Point your toes as far back as you can from this stance, but bring them a bit out to hip distance. Then start to land on this very foot and bending into your front knee. So we've got a warrior one stance here. Pulling the feet lightly in, and perhaps just to explore the possibilities, extending the arms. You can keep hands touching or leave them separate. Take shoulders into ease. Breathing in. And as you breathe out, bringing your hands all the way down to the heart center again. What I'd ask you to do now is lean into your front foot a little bit more, actually bending the knee more, then pushing away and coming to a stand with the foot joining the other, mountain pose. So while this movement might be unusual, we wobble. So let's step the same foot forward again, bringing a bend back into the knee. You find your warrior one, push down into the front foot. See if you can be very stable in your body, perhaps learning to keep your gaze steady. Beautiful. We'll do that a few more times. So again, step forward with the same foot, landing softly in a warrior shape, pushing down into the front foot to step back and land in a mountain. We'll do that one more time. Stepping forward, landing as a bend in the knee, leaning weight to this foot and pushing back. Now, last time we're stepping forward one more time. Bring a bend to the knee. Adjust the strength by drawing feet inwards to each other, and then perhaps lifting again, completing your warrior shape. If arms high isn't yours, find your variations, just like myself. If you choose to extend your arms, leave the palms facing, and your shoulders neither up nor down. They're just somewhere in between. Perhaps your gazing point is straight ahead or even lifted. Taking a breath in as you begin to push the back foot away from the mat. As you release your arms, bringing the back knee again up in front and stepping it over as you ground through perhaps your big toe or hugging your legs together. The right arm then might cross underneath the left to perhaps hug shoulders or bring hands together, allowing the shoulders to be at ease, the elbows a little bit forward, finding your steady gazing point and hugging your arms and legs gently together. See if you can find this steadiness, the strength in your balance. With the breath in now, lifting your arms out and up, bring the knee up again. Cross your wrists as you land, bring Garuda Mudra down in front of your heart space. Find the ground in your feet again. Relax, perhaps closing the eyes. The gentle softness back to your knees. Breathing deeply. On your next breath in, raise your hands and begin to peel the left knee up or the foot off the floor. Releasing your arms out to bring hands to touch at heart. Extending this leg back to the maximum, but tapping out to about hip distance. Then slowly landing the weight on the back foot, bending into the front knee. Drawing your feet lightly in toward each other to switch on core and back support. An option to extend both arms or making your choices there. Leaving shoulders easy, perhaps looking upward. Virabhadrasana Vana Warrior One. Breathing in as you're stretching up. Breathing out as you draw both hands down to heart center. Beginning to shift the weight into the front foot. You're now a bit better prepared for what's coming. So push back to stand in a mountain. Yet the first one might just be a little bit stuck. Let's step the same foot forward again, grounding, bending, drawing feet in. Lean weight to front foot, pushing off and stepping to the back. We'll repeat that a few more times, always controlling, landing your heel as you soften into the front knee, using the pressure against the floor to step back. 2 more rounds. In this last round, we will stay standing forward. Perhaps lifting the arms again. Perhaps, in my case, it's only one, and you can make your choices too. Let palms face towards each other, even if there's only one. Let the shoulders relax. Keep your foundation strong, and choose a steady gazing point. As you take a breath in, lifting the back foot up, releasing your arms out as you lift the knee from behind, crossing it over as you might tap your big toe to the ground. It is the left arm now crossing under the right if you wish to give the shoulders a hug or to create the palms touching. Let shoulders soften, elbows raise lightly, both knees be bent, and perhaps hugging arms and legs together, finding your steady gazing point. If the palms are touching, there's maybe one eye on either side of the hands. Let's take a breath in, lifting the knee, the arms circling up. If you remember which hand was close, make it the other as you land with Garuda Mudra in a mountain shape. Let feet ground, shoulders ease. Maintain a light pull between your thumbs and let your fingers be spread out. Perhaps closing your eyes for a few breaths, letting your breath deepen as you breathe in and out slowly. A few more breaths. Let's reach the arms up on the next inhalation and just circle them out and down on your out breath. We're facing the long side of the mat now, so you might like to change your mat or change your position, stepping your feet out a little bit wider now. Begin with the right toes turned towards the front side of the mat and the left heel a little bit over to the other side. So we're getting that beautiful rolling in of the hip joint. Beginning to bend into the right knee. Now my stance here is quite relaxed. I've got a wide open angle in the knee. You could stand a lot deeper. You might even go to the point where the thigh is parallel to the floor. Aren't we living in a beautiful world where there's all of those possibilities to choose or not? As you might raise your arms out to about shoulder height, perhaps looking over the front hand fingertips to complete your warrior shape. Again, please feel free. Any adjustments here might be useful. Take that same attempt with your feet. Draw them lightly inwards. So you're feeling not only your feet deeply into the mat, but your legs engaging, the whole core switching on. You might even feel a little bit taller, perhaps even more centered. Take a deep breath in. And as you breathe out, tilting your shape, maintaining your foundation, just pointing one hand down and reaching one up. So the front knee stays in a bend, and your choice here is to go a bit deeper, but perhaps lean the forearm to the thigh instead. For side angle pose, your gaze could be up or down, or even into the open space. And perhaps some of you would like to release that posture briefly, swing the arm back and down, and then extend the leg again and let the arm instead point over the head. Different variations there. Parshvakonasana. Let's release that by bending the knee, let the arm swing downwards, opening up through your stand. As you take a breath in, turn the toes outwards, circle your arms up, turn the hands to face, hook the thumbs up, and land with Garuda Mudra in a goddess pose or Utthita Konasana. So your feathers are nicely spread again. On your in-breath, straighten the legs, reach this up. On the out-breath, circle the arms down, releasing them along your sides. We'll repeat the different hook of the thumbs, breathing in. As you cross, the other hand is closer. And as you exhale, sinking back into the goddess. Nice and tall in your stance. Core's on here as well. Yes, much better. Leaving shoulders easy, but strong in the thumbs and the hands. Let's take the breath to straighten the legs again, lifting up. On the elbows, just simply releasing your arms, keeping your tall, wide-legged stance. Turning the left toes now to face the short edge of the mat. The right toes turn in a bit so the heel turns out towards the other short edge. Taking a bend again into the front knee, that's the left this time. And once more, perhaps observing mentally, how is that stance working for you? We'll always keep our knee over the ankle joint, but when you widen the stance, you potentially go a little bit deeper. As you stand here, pull feet inwards. Find that lift from the ground. Then perhaps an inhale to extend your arms at shoulder height and maybe looking over the front hand fingertips again. Your variations are very welcome, but there's strength right from the feet up to your core, supporting your upper body. There's a sense of ease in the shoulders, and if there isn't, please modify your arm position. As we hold in a warrior two, breathe in, keep the strength, your foundation exactly the same. And as you breathe out, just tilting, one hand reaching up perhaps, one reaching down. Your gazing point, up or down. An extra choice to deepen the shape by placing the forearm to the thigh, maintaining, however, the length in the waist, in the spine. Extra option to bend the back knee, swing your arm back and down, and then perhaps extend it over the head while you straighten your leg again. Our side angle posture. Let's roll the arm and shoulder in, turning again towards the center, lifting the arms all the way out and up as your toes turn back into the corners. Garuda Mudra for a goddess pose as you sink in. A breath in to straighten the legs, reach the arms up, turn your heels out, so the outer edges are parallel. And as you exhale, circle your arms behind, perhaps taking the hook here, same as we did in a child's pose, pulling on your thumbs and opening your heart. Option, stay. Other option, breathe out and fold this forward. Perhaps your arms are rather resting on the back, maybe they're lifted away from it. Shift the weight a little bit forward here, leaning into the shape. A few more breaths. Bending your knees rather deeply while you turn your heels a little in, rise up, draw your arms out to the sides, lifting, changing the hand in front and settling back into Garudasana Mudra, sinking into the knees for your goddess shape. We'll repeat if it suits. For the breath in, straighten the legs, reach the arms up. For the out breath, circle the arms around, turn your toes forward. You might hook the thumbs up differently behind your back too. Lift your heart as you breathe in. Perhaps bending the knees here to support you. As you breathe out, you might choose to fold forward. Arms can lift or rest onto the back. As you lean towards the front, Take one full breath in and out. Your knees could still be bent here. Letting your hands then release towards the mat. Walking hands towards the right leg. And a breath out to draw nose to right knee. Hands can be where they're suitable for you. Perhaps finding the stance is still over both feet despite leaning to one. Releasing the right leg and walking across to the left. Leaning nose to left knee. And same here, hands wherever that feels supported for you. Still aim to stand on both feet. Walking hands back into the center. Maybe come to your fingertips to lengthen your spine. Then heel and toe your feet a little bit in. We will come into Malasana or yogic squat. I will have arrange a block for my bottom to sit on. It is okay to do a bit less though, as you might just bend your knees, rest your forearms to the thigh, or you might let your hips sink down between your feet, or sitting on a block. Opening the hips, perhaps touching the palms together. Perhaps there's some length coming through the spine now, wherever you stand in this shape. We're not here for too long. Maybe one more deep breath. And as you breathe out, you might dissolve this posture, coming to land into a seated position on your mat. Extending the legs out in front. Now, if you wish, you could pop up the rolled up mat underneath. I will change my position facing forward today for a good reason. So once you've got your support underneath your bottom, just wiggling out your sitting bones, finding your place. As you press down into the fingers, lengthening through the spine. We'll take our time today with these seated positions, bending the knees and turning your toes to face upward. While you breathe out, you might still be shuffling a little bit from side to side, leaning forward. See where you can go without causing stress in the body. Relax the shoulders down. Bring your gaze into a steady position, perhaps towards the toes or down to the knees if you choose to go a little bit deeper. Exploring the depths of your shape of Paschimottanasana, to explore, seeing where you can lean towards, allowing breath and energy to flow. Now within this shape, we're starting to tap into other energies as well. Those of the abdominal region, for example, we're starting to explore. We've already allowed ourselves to spread energy through the whole body with the standing postures movement, but also the use of Garuda Mudra and the air element. Are you still there, just breathing, being with this shape? Or has your mind wandered? Just noticing. As we are within this body, we can notice and then return and change. When you're next inhaling, lifting your spine a little, and then walking your hands back up towards your body. Let both legs extend out long. Bringing a bend into the right knee And if it's possible for you, pull your right foot up very close, very deep flexion in the knee. But take the opposite hand, make it to a fist, and then measure the distance between the foot and the extended leg to be fist distance. Taking this very hand and placing the fingertips behind you, already starting to push down into the floor. You can use this foot and the fingertips behind. Then extending your right arm forward, right between your legs, the thumb is pointing up. We're taking an inhale here, there's a flexion in the foot on your long leg. And as you breathe out, use your hand to push forward. You can lower your gaze here if you wish. You might even rest the hand down and just be with the forward bend. Or you could turn the thumb of your right hand downwards and swing that arm around your bent knee. You could still keep your hand on the floor to support your forward fold. But if you're comfortable here, you could also wrap this arm behind and perhaps come to a bind. Let's keep the foot firmly into the ground, a flexion in the other, and dealing with breath and mind with the limitations that this forward fold has to offer. Seizing this very moment, as the two cards told us to do. As your next inhale, slowly rise back to sit. Leave the shape, but change the hand behind you. And again, perhaps it's just the fingertips. Push into the floor and lift your left arm, breathing in. Choices, taking a hold of the knee, hugging in it deeply for a twist, or reaching the elbow to the outside here. I'm not good at demonstrating there. Perhaps you feel quite stuck here to come back to the hug, or you could reach your arm underneath the knee to create a bind behind the back. It doesn't matter where you get to. What matters is the stimulation from the knee drawing in, or the leg rather, drawing into the abdominal area, relaxing through your shoulders. As you breathe, each breath stimulates samana vayu, that vayu, that wind, that energy that circles around the abdomen, keeping your whole digestive system working. As your next inhale, turn your head again to the front, unravel the posture by straightening both legs. We will spend a moment here in Dandasana or staff pose by pressing hands down, sitting taller, active flexion in the feet. Shoulders might become a little bit lighter here in this shape. Nice and steady gaze, internal or external. Eyes open or closed. Breathing in. And as you breathe out, bringing your left leg up. Do the same here. See if you can hug the foot in towards the buttocks. Squeeze the back of the knee a bit. Measuring with the opposite hand's fist the distance between extended leg and foot on the floor. Then placing that very hand's fingertips behind, starting to ground through the foot, the fingertips, starting to lift a bit more through the spine, flexing the foot on your long leg. And perhaps extending the other arm in between the legs with the thumb pointing up a bit. Press into the ground as you lift for an in-breath. Breathe out, use the fingertips behind to push forward. Same choices, you can stay here, you can even relax the arm, or you could turn the thumb down and then wrap that arm around your bent knee. Perhaps the other arm joins in for a bind, or you can keep the fingers on the floor. Leaning forward into this shape as you lower towards your extended leg, keeping its foot in a deep flexion and grounding through your other foot. Same as on the opposite side. Stay with this and breathe. Allowing yourself to feel that there is potentially feelings of getting stuck when we are in such a forward bend that naturally restricts exactly that, bending forward. On the next breath, slowly rise, changing the hand behind as a support. Perhaps it is again just the fingertips, pulling yourself a little bit up from the ground, pushing down, and a breath in to raise the right arm. Same options. You could wrap that arm around the knee, give it a tight hug for a twist, or you might choose to take the elbow to the outside of the knee and go from there. Your choice. Perhaps there's even a bind, the other arm wrapping behind the back. Keep the leg close and breathe deeply. As you continue to explore the spiral energy in your abdomen, very similar to how we're stimulating our digestive system in general. With the next inhalation, turning your head forward, and while you breathe out, beginning to extend both legs back out long. We might return briefly to the staff pose as we press down into the floor, lifting our spine. I will turn myself around now, making sure that you can see movements if you need to. If you like support in lying back bends, please have a block by the side of your mat before you lie down. Leave socks off if you can, and take a breath out to roll your spine down. Stepping your feet down onto the mat once you've landed. It's not important where your feet are positioned just yet. Lifting your right leg up and crossing it over your left, if that works. Opening your arms up as you breathe in. And wrapping your right arm underneath your left, either to embrace or to touch your palms. Perhaps lifting the foot off the floor. Options, breathing out, squeezing knees and elbows together. Breathing in to lie down or even extend. And breathing out to squeeze back in. This movement suits you. Please repeat a few more times. You might choose to do a little bit less, a little bit more. Two more. When completed, landing your foot back down, your head, opening your arms out wide as you breathe in, and let your knees roll over to your left when breathing out. Keeping shoulders on the ground and a twist. I will have to modify this slightly if you do choose separating your legs for the twist. Deep breath in. As you exhale, draw your knees with your core back into center, lifting your left leg up and crossing it over the right. Opening your arms on an in-breath and crossing then the left arm underneath the right. The same options, a beak or a hug of the shoulders. Perhaps lifting the foot off the floor. Options are the same. If you wish, on your exhale, draw elbows and knees together by lifting your head and shoulders. Take a breath in, perhaps lying back, perhaps extending the body. On the exhale, squeezing back in. Your choice of intensity, perhaps you're just resting with the limbs wound up. Perhaps you keep moving with me, each out breath to lift up and curl inward. The good thing is that I often forget to count. I counted 7 on the first side. I think there's one more. And then releasing your foot to the floor, taking a breath to open your arms. And if it's right, breathe out, roll legs to right. If it's preferred, separate the legs. Landing in your twist. As you inhale, and with the out breath, using your center to draw the knees back up. Let your arms land along the sides of the body. Perhaps grab a block if you prefer support here. Landing hands down, palms touching, fingers pointing away from you to the short edge of the mat. Feet are hip distance, comfortable distance to stand away from the buttocks. As you take a breath in, just tilt the pelvis and press the spine into the floor as you breathe out. Lifting your hips up as you breathe in. Hold them here. As you breathe out, draw your tailbone up towards the backs of the knees. Now, my recommendation is to hold this freely using a core, leg, and buttock strength of your back too. If you need support today, please pop a block directly underneath the sacrum, flat or halfway up. If you're holding here with me, perhaps sliding your shoulder blades under. Some might even like to interlace the hands or hook up their thumbs. Keep drawing your tail up if you're holding freely in the direction of backs of knees. We'll take a few more breaths here. Your option before we land is to now draw a block underneath. Again, the same height options as before. And if your hips are up, please land them. If you don't have a block, bring fists underneath your bottom instead. If you can, bring the knees loosely over your chest. And perhaps even extending the legs toward the ceiling. Our supported shoulder stand or legs up the wall pose. If you feel safe and supported by the block underneath, if you have one at all, let your arms open up. Perhaps the palms turn to the ceiling, letting shoulders soften to the ground. And if you like a little bit of theater, so to say, look at your toes and move the toes a little. Maybe squeezing and wiggling is nice. Encouraging a little bit of downward flow here. So with these different energies in the body, we've naturally nurtured them all. Some of them lead us to more grounding experience. Others bring energy in. Yet others lift energy out of ourselves, which is important too. And so much is there to spread energy throughout the body so we can function optimally, not just on the mat, but also during the day. Let's bend the knees softly back towards the chest. If you need to, hold on to the block or ground your arms. And then landing your feet either together or one after the other at hip distance onto the mat. As you breathe in, squeeze your bottom up into the air, once again into a bridge. Remove this block from underneath and then rolling your spine down onto the mat. While we have done all necessary movements, I still suggest to add a little wiggle here and see how's your back responding, what's the pelvis like, your legs. See if there's anything that your body tells you to do. For me, it's a little hug and a rocking over an achy lower back. So see where it takes you. And once you've responded to that sensation, then find your resting posture. Ideally a shavasana. So if you can lengthen the legs out, perfect. Let them roll apart. Arms relaxing. Shoulder blades a little bit closer. Finding your spot. If that's not yours, you need to support. Just bend your knees. It's fine. And let the knees fall inwards with your feet a little bit wider. Perhaps you have a bolster. You would like to use that underneath your knees. So as you close your eyes, see if you manage to keep that idea of seizing the moment with you as you were exploring the physical practice. I'm pretty sure that we all moved our values, our winds within the body. To increase our willingness to adapt to the changes that energies usually bring with them, and to create the necessary inspiration to even do so, I recommend for a little while to just be here and recite silently a mantra. The mantra is about the fire element. And the fire element, combined with the energies that we move today and the lots of Garuda mudras, can really assist ourselves to adapt to these changes. So the mantra is Om Agnaye Namaha. Om Agnaye Namaha. Om Agnaye Namaha. Continue repeating that silently to yourself for a little while. If the mind wanders, you forget the words, come back to your breath, thinking about cultivating this energy. Otherwise, Om Agnaye Namaha. Let go of the mantra. Return into your body. Think about all the beautiful energies that we cultivated from right down deep within There's a spiral. From deep within, we express ourselves, we ground ourselves, we draw energy in from the outside, and ultimately we spread it out into our whole bodies. Perhaps see this energy that you cultivated today that has filled your body, beginning to deepen your breath as you draw prana vayu back in. Perhaps starting to bring gentle movement back to your body. Perhaps allowing even a stretch. When you're ready, you might bend your knees, roll to your side, snuggle up for another moment. Or if you prefer, you can rise over the front of the body. Joining me in a seat. From where we complete as we practiced. On a breath in, reaching your arms out and up. Turning the palms to face and hooking up your thumbs as you draw Garuda Mudra one last time in front of your chest. Leaving a light, gentle pull on the thumbs, the spread of your fingers as you hold the eagle's wings in front of you. I would like to complete this practice by chanting 3 times the mantra Om Agnaye Namaha, followed by 1 Om to complete. So let's begin together, breathing in for the first round of the mantra. Om Agnaye Namaha. Om Agnaye Namaha. Om Agnaye Namaha. Attaching hands to heart and the light bow to bend forward, extend to each other. Namaste.